That was President Muhammadu Buhari's New Year Day speech, and just a quick recap of some of the things he touched on in his speech. He talked about the fact that 2020 came with this challenge, and he believes that in spite of all that had happened, we are emerging stronger and better despite the highs and lows. He talked about the fact that we are 61 years in democracy and we are emerging stronger and better, united under the will of God. He also harped on the hashtag #EndSARS protest, where he said it was an understandable protest led by the youth for reforms and accountability, and that this administration heard. And he says that we are going to face, or he is going to face the challenges with renewed urgency and commitment, especially having that conversation with all relevant stakeholders. And he talked about the fact that he reaffirmed his commitment to the people to secure the nation and to secure the youth who are the hopes of the nation. And he said that the government is ready to engage the energy of the youth to collaborate, especially in the areas of fintech, agriculture, and startups, as well as entertainment. And he said he's working to reinforce the hopes of Nigerians for a progressive Nigeria in 3 key areas, talking about security, the economy, and also fighting corruption. In the area of security, he says that they will be reorganizing, that is, the administration will be reorganizing security apparatus and operation to dismantle the operation of internal and external groups threatening the national security. And he talked about the fact that Nigeria has the capacity to address these issues, especially if we look at how the 300 boys were, rescued after they were kidnapped in Kankara. And he said that the administration is going to move to a more proactive and preemptive culture to address issues of kidnap, to ensure that such incidents does not happen again. To the economy now, he talked about the National Economic Diversification Policy, where we're looking at self-sufficiency, food security, the railway system, as well as reforms in the power sector that will guarantee increased generation, and so also to boost the job creation, support entrepreneurial drive of the youth. For corruption now, he said that the government is going to build on the success recorded in 2020 and continue on the path of eradicating corruption. He says the government is going to enact laws to strengthen the fight and review the laws that will make the fight effective, and also that they will collaborate with the executive to ensure that there is swift prosecution. And then insecurity, it says, has direct repercussion on the country. Activities of Boko Haram is hindering government's efforts at implementing other programs that will address poverty that we have seen in some of the states. And these are the key issues that the president harped on in his New Year Day speech. And joining me now to talk about the president's speech is lawyer and public affairs analyst Gani Fani, as well as public affairs analyst Akin Fatunke. Gentlemen, good morning. Thank you for joining us. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to our viewers. And happy beginning.
New Year of faith and hope for Nigeria.
Absolutely. And I'm sure that we were here listening to the president's message. I wonder if that faith and hope, let me begin with you, Akin Fatunke, you got that vibe of faith and hope from the president's message?
I would say thank you, Mr. President. We heard you loud and clear. We also heard you in 2018. We heard you in 2019. We heard you last year. For me, as a person, we got to walk the talk.
Right.
There have been promises, there will be promises, there will be faith, there will be hope. But essentially, I was expecting, but not surprisingly, not getting from Mr. President some key aspects to our nationhood. One, how many are we? Do we have the capacity? Thank you, Mr. President. The Nigerian Population Commission is on and running. Do we now have the political will to be able to count ourselves without putting politics? That's number one. Number two, I noticed that one of the plans for development anywhere, everywhere, is the reforms that we should get in education. And you know, for whatever reason, for close to nine months up till now, and still running, we really don't know what the direction of our education will be. And thirdly, I expected in this 20 minutes broadcast by Mr. President, eloquently delivered, I must say. I must also say that Mr. President coming out to talk about COVID-19 has been a challenge, even though walking the talk was an issue for me at the onset. We didn't see our president putting on nose masks, and when inquiries were made, it was kind of rebuffed. Agriculture was another area, and you know you have to tie agriculture to security. Again, he spoke about security. Like I said, 2018, 2019, 2020, the scorecard, regrettably, is showing red. Too little, getting too late. For the unity and faith that he has mentioned concerning youth empowerment, Mr. President said the answers, we listened to them.
Yes.
I have a challenge, Mr. President. You know, I knew you said you listened, but did you hear? There's a difference between listening to hear, to understand, and just mere listening. Mr. Vice President also said, we listened to you. Nigerians were saying, telling Mr. President, asking for low-hanging fruits. Please come out, Mr. President, and communicate with your youth. The youth that you have eloquently mentioned as being innovative, entrepreneurial. The youth that we all saw, and I'm sure Mr. President saw, that in a space of 2 weeks, they did what governments in the past 20 years have not been able to do. Administration, finance, getting themselves organized, and then putting across all the things that needs to be done. And Mr. President was warned. We were hearing a rumor that we are going to turn the military. Please don't do. Rather than do that, come for low-hanging fruits.
All right.
Communicate with us, but that did not happen. Unfortunately, we are where we are.
All right. Let's get Gani Fani's perspective of the president's speech.
Well, it's a wonderful performance.
Performance?
Yes. You know, year in, year out, we have been listening to broadcasts. Broadcasts are different from actions. The trust, you see, so as not to become a yearly homily,
okay.
A yearly, what to call a shibboleth. There are certain things you expect from the president to say. You can predict it, even without listening. That is what the president will say. He will talk about national unity. He will talk about so many things. There are too many things that we have passed through in the last 60 years plus that Nigeria should now be thinking. They should now be thinking critically, looking at Nigeria itself in the Committee of Nations. Nigeria started with some countries that we knew of, like Brazil and the rest. They have left Nigeria behind a long time ago, simply because Nigeria is refusing to look at itself very well. The day you look at yourself in the mirror, it is the day the solution to your problem starts. I'm happy Mr. President spoke about answers. There is nobody that will not have apprehension. Up to this moment, it is still reverberating, the effects of answers. And the answers, like Mr. President said, is not just the reformation of the police. It is just the youths are talking of their future. They are talking of governance, good governance. Because if you look at the police as the issue, one will miss the point. I can assure you that as central as our police system is in this country today, because it's on the exclusive legislative list, states are forbidden from setting up, even where they go around to self-protect themselves. Like we have recently in Amotekun, where is it? Amotekun is not jumping anywhere because the federal government doesn't want it. That is the truth. The police that we have today, without the state component in any of the states in this country today, the police cannot do anything. Take, for instance, the Epic Center here in Lagos. All the helicopters you see, all the vehicles you see, are provided by the state governments.
Right.
So there is a problem. There is a serious fundamental problem. Go to the police stations and see the reasons why they are doing what they are doing. And look at their lifestyles. We know what is going on. The youths are like my generation. And in any case, my generation was extremely very, very lucky. We had virtually everything. Up to the university when we were feeding free jobs all over the place. They become impatient. Mr. President must ask questions, a post-mortem. What exactly is going on? Nigeria is 61. I am telling you, if the manner and the pattern of governing this country continues, I can tell you with every efficiency, with everything, that we will get little for our investment. That is the problem that's confronting us. The governance architecture of this country cannot make room for progress in a nation. And that's exactly what the NSAS, to me,
about.
Yes, it's all about. Because it is not possible for this country to harness all our potentials. The potentials that have been recorded since 1960, that up to this moment we are yet to realize. So Mr. President must tell us what we want to hear. We want to hear things like restructuring. Things that happened, we saw what happened.
But he had made his position clear some time ago with regards to restructuring.
Look, that's what I'm saying, nothing static. Nigeria was better off at independence. Nigeria was post-independence. The structures in place, they are still enduring. We are merely deceiving ourselves. So we can't run away from our shadows. Can you? It's not possible.
Right.
Nigeria must be ready to face the truth. And the truth is, how do we govern our resources? How do we use factors that are not primordial, where you come from, to get to positions? Just in the last few days with this, in the US, 2 Nigerians have been named into positions that can help that country. If it is here, it is going to be the opposite. So we want a system whereby the potentials in our youth, most especially because we have spent our time, we're almost living right now. So the future must be certain for them.
So are you saying
plenty.
The areas he mentioned of talking about fintech, agriculture, startups, and even entertainment are not enough to secure the future of our youth?
When the political system created the Leviathan, these are concepts that people are not supposed to stand on their own. The government is a big thing that represents God. That's the concept. Those who fashioned it knew what they were doing. And that is why you surrender everything you have. Unlike those days when man to man was a wolf. Homo homini ipus est. That's the Latin version of it. I just look at you, I dispossess you of what you have. Without anything. Life has moved from there. We now have someone to go and report to. You don't take the laws into your hands.
Of course.
So, but before that was not the case. So, man to man was a wolf. If I'm better than you, you know, as men, our hormones are different from yours as women.
Yes.
And that's why we brutalized you in the past. In some areas, they are still brutalizing women. Now you could be intelligent and the rest of us, the men here. Those are developments that we have identified. What will not make those pronouncements come into reality? You had a few months ago, about job creation, 774. You knew the big trend that followed it.
Absolutely.
It's the same problem that we are standing on. So all those good things that our president has mentioned, what will make it impossible that by next year we will come here and be saying the same thing, is the structure on which Nigeria is based and placed. We have deviated from the vision of the founding fathers. They went into conferences and they looked at themselves and said, this is what can pay us. Our resources must not be frittered as it is being frittered today. Have you ever heard in those days that a politician, the only thing that I've seen constant and that is now even becoming humongous is the political system. Political system that will make so much available to the politician and make it extremely very, very attractive. And then the populace, you now see their fortune dropping. they will say they should be enduring.
All right.
But you see the politician, all his fortunes, you hear it. Up to this moment, you don't know how much they earn in the National Assembly.
All right.
And in the state assemblies and so on and so forth. Nigeria has to depart from all this into serious governance. That's what we want from Mr. President.
If we intend to secure the future of the youth, our generation. All right, let's come back to you now, Akin Fatunke. You talked about reforms, and you would recall from the president's statement with regards to security, he talked about reorganizing the security apparatus and operation. Coming into 2021, we saw what happened security-wise in the country in 2020. What would you expect to see with this reorganizing and operation that the president is talking about when he's saying reorganizing the apparatus and operations?
If truth must be told, Nigeria today, January 1, and for the better part of 2020, has slipped into what I like to describe, the way Hobbes described it, nasty, brutish, short, uncomfortable. In the past 5 years, I give it to Mr. President that when he came in, we saw some vigor in securing the Northeast. Today, the Timbuktu Triangle, Gamboa, as we speak, becomes one step in terms of achievement of success and 5 steps backwards. The truth is that Nigeria has capacity. I heard Mr. President say that.
Yes, he said that.
Nigeria has capacity. I am challenged to say that perhaps the leadership of Nigeria has lacked the capacity and the goodwill. 2, in the words of my Mr. Fani, looking at the whole structure of Nigeria and coming to terms and putting a mirror in front of you and say, this structure, this edifice that I'm supposed to build on will not make any progress unless if I go sectional, which is exactly one of the things that has happened. We have not put right people, right competent people, right energized people that we have in our youths in right places. We have virtually moved backwards. And basically, he was talking about vision. Yes, our founding fathers had vision. What will President Buhari say and communicate to us as his vision? Security, economy.
And fighting corruption.
And fighting corruption. And in the past 5 years, I voted for President Buhari,
right,
clearly, on 2 occasions. But if I am going to put on the scorecard, Mr. President has not done so well. He's not done so well. In fact, there are people who believe that is Mr. President, is he mentally present to do what he needs to do? We need the structure, we need the strategy, and the execution aspect is terrible. Mr. President did not say anything about cost of governance. You are talking about the fact that our structure. Leadership has to be by example. What is it that our National Assembly, our presidency, what is it that they are earning that they cannot forego and say, this is my sacrifice to you Nigerians? Taking that first step so that every other person can follow. Because they have not done that, trust deficit has gone downhill. All
right, I must say that in our having this discussion, we must be careful with our choice of words because it's a broadcast and we have regulations as well. And then the president, going back now to the president's speech, he talked about the issues of the fact that we know as Nigerians what they met on the ground before they came in, before the administration came in. So we must also have that at the back of our minds if we are that expectant from the government.
Yes. Clearly, Veronica, if you are in school for the past 5 years, and every year you go back and still talk about, what you meant on the ground, you are brought in because what you meant, what is on the ground is not palatable. You need to be able to add value. And if you are not adding value in the private sector, Veronica, that is how it is done. In all countries, that is how it is done. But in our own climb, I have no regret in saying we have really not done well.
Right.
Well, you want us to clothe it and be, in fine clothes? Yeah, we can say it in fine clothes, but Mr. President ought to know that Nigerians are groaning. Nigerians are unhappy. Nigerians are uninspired. Inefficiency in government and administration is palpable. We see it. Communication, as simple as the low-hanging fruits of communication. Communicate so that we can understand what is happening. It hardly happens.
Right.
I have sympathy for my friend, Femi Adesina, a fine gentleman. Professionally, I can say that because I know him personally. But I was his opposite number when I was in the private sector. But in the private sector that I worked, I had presidents or CEOs, chairmen that had vision, that made sure that square pegs were put in square hole, delegated adequately, communicated proactively. We are not seeing that, unfortunately.
Right. Let's quickly touch on another aspect that the president spoke about, which has to do with the economy. He touched on job creation, self-sufficiency, food security. And you would recall in December, there were concerns that food inflation is eating double digits or isn't double digits. And the president has talked about addressing that aggressively come 2021, which we are in now. And he also just signed the 2021 appropriation bill. I wonder where you see the direction based on what he has spoken, how we can address all of these issues.
You see, what I have discovered, at least since I've been listening to broadcasts, not just this particular one, is platitudes. Looks like what we call precedents in my profession. You just know how to juggle words. You know what to say at a time like this. Go and bring about 5 broadcasts. Use this and that. That's the headache I have.
Right.
What I want, people want results that would just make people to be happy. Just go along the streets. There is like a pall has fallen on the nation that we need to be bemoaning one thing or the other, simply because of the way governance is going on. The economy, there's somebody who will tell you that's not reviving the economy. We've had several. Diversification, there's nothing we haven't had. Creation of jobs. My problem is that I have had several promises.
All you want to see is results.
Yes, that's what the youth, because of their own time, which is different from my time. If your parents said, don't do this, I can confess to you, I didn't know Lagos until after my youth service. In my place, you can't just say you are to where. Who do you want to tell now? You want to tell your children not to go to Agege or what have you. So those times have changed. And we who are in governance too must also change in our mindset, the way we do things. And to make things easier, like you have seen examples elsewhere, is the fact that you must be able to delegate functions. They will tell you that one of the things nobody can do in this place, they delegated responsibilities to you, that's why you are here. There's nobody who will not know that. There must be somebody who has the idea of to do this and that. You can't be centralizing everything as if we're in the military. The orientation has been so militarized that we don't believe everything done in that place is the best. Whereas we have got opportunities in the past to see, no, take for instance this industry. At least I'm privileged, being a former practitioner, to know that the first TV, I'm just giving as an example, 1959 in Ibadan. The federal government never had television until 1963 in Victoria Island here. So what I'm telling you is that if you give the components opportunities, you will have the best. All this sloganeering about national unity, indivisible country, nobody likes anything that is good to be bad. We all want to work together. So the fundamentals, it's not just by our words, but by what we do. People will be rushing here. I was privileged to be taught by white men in the university at Ife. White men were struggling to come to this country to be our lecturers, fighting to come. What happens today? The opposite is what is now happening.
But do the federating units have the capacity to handle all of this? Because at some point, some years ago, the vice president was asking some state governors to begin to think outside of the box.
So what is it? When you have taken the resources, there's something you call resource control. If you have to go into that aspect, that's why you are working here.
Right.
If they say the distribution of resources in this place is by probably how beautiful you are, by the number of children you have, nobody's going to work here. I knew when you got here this morning, when we got here. The resource control element was there. If we are going to those areas that prepared every region. There was no region in this country that was not self-sufficient. There was a region that was paying so much to its civil servants than the federal government that we knew about. Nobody learns or wants history any longer. It is not the federal government alone. What the federal government does is to dispossess the regions as it is today, take it to the center, and then they now look at what do we do for that one, why don't we do this, and that kind of a thing. And it's making some people to believe this is our right, it must come, without actually working for it. It will never make, the person that is making effort, you will demotivate him. He will no longer be happy at working because he's waiting for somewhere. And that's Abuja. They go every 30 days. Say, tell your commissioner for finance, how much are we expecting from Abuja? In those days, you must work assiduously. Most of our youth, or even people here, you don't know Ikeja GRA here, was created by Western region. Looking for money at all costs. Here, I will not have created it. This is Ikeja GRA. Looking for ways of making money. So the potentials are there. Somebody just probably deceived us. Or probably made a mistake. Let me say a mistake. There's somebody who cannot make a mistake.
Right.
The most important thing is when you make a mistake and you identify, oh, I didn't know. This is what I could have done.
Begin to address it.
But when you are continuing, then you do the same thing over and over and expect a different result. Will it ever come? Of course not. That's exactly what is happening. So the economy, the political class, every other thing promised. Why I see that it is not working, why the past is usually better than the present, is the fact that the structure is not good enough. The structure is not encouraging anyone to put in the best. We all love our country. This is our country. It becomes indissoluble. It becomes a center of unity or whatever. For as long as we continue to enjoy good things within it. Nobody wants any problem within the structure.
Let me come to you now. The issue of corruption. The government, the president spoke about building on the success recorded last year, the year 2020. And he says that they will continue on the path of eradicating corruption, enact laws to strengthen the fight, review the laws that will make the fight effective. Are you confident? I wonder what your position is with regards to this, and are you confident that we would see all of this that he has spoken about?
Social contract with Nigerians has broken intolerably, whether in the rule of law that Mr. President mentioned yes. In his speech, which Nigerians home in diaspora know has been in the breach. Rule of law has not been strictly adhered to. A few low-hanging, El Zakzaki, for instance, or Sambo Dazuki, the law has said this is what you should do. It's been in the opposite. That's number one. Number two, I wonder, with the kind of education my parents gave me, with the kind of mentoring that I know I got, let me say in the past 30 years working in the private sector, what I see should be happening and how I should be looking at my scorecard. And I was a physical person that is Nigeria. And I say that we are making progress on corruption. I can't say that. I'm sure I haven't seen that.
Right.
The king was danced naked. When that small boy in Agbe's book came out and said, oh, the elders are saying we must say the king is well clothed, is in good robes. I'm going to say, hey, Daddy, this king I've seen is not, he's really naked. And then, everybody started to look at whatever. Is it from the minor issue that we are going to look ourselves, like he said, looking ourselves in the mirror, and we say, and the pension scams that goes on a daily basis, that we are going to say we are fighting corruption? Is it in course of governance? And by the way, so that it doesn't look as if I'm all attacking. Thank you, Mr. President. Thanks to you, we got the appropriation bill signed just before January 1. That is kudos. However, productivity is still low. I still believe that a lot of the policies that are put in place looks like ways to just grind the teeth of Nigerians. The recent ones about NIN and SIM. On one hand, we want social distancing and what have you. On the other hand, you set a date, initially December before it was extended. Thank God they agreed that that was going to be extended. People went in there. Is there no real thinking? Is there no critical thinking? And that's why I'm looking at the competence. Now, look, for instance, at the case of Magu. We really have not come to terms that, okay, the Salami panel has come out with its report, and Mr. President, quite apart from, I shouldn't use the word slow, okay, considering the fact that this report, just like the Oransize report, that is supposed to streamline, governance and reduce graft and waste in governance, Mr. President is still looking at it. We are looking at situations where people have actually said, and again, thanks to this president, he got in a couple of eggheads, because we're talking about economy.
Right.
It's about economy. We are 201 million estimated. We're not been able to count ourselves, but let's even take that. The poverty index in Nigeria, you know all the statistics, they are all there. And one of the reasons why, even when I use the Pantami case now, you hear that people go in there, they want name, and the officers of government are asking for 5,000 naira in the Ejimpo local government area yesterday.
Right.
It was such that there was so much crowd, some people were going around the bench, and one young man just got there, went out, this is real. He went and came with a gun. And I started shooting. I said, next time I'm going to come with 2 or 3 guns. If officers of government are not going to do what they need to be done, and just want to grind Nigerians, is corruption being taken care of? We still hear, as I speak, NNPC is auditing their accounts. Another kudos. What about the other agencies of government? What about the audit report that has come out that has clearly indicted persons in government and nothing's been done about it? Come on. As far as I'm concerned, it's still a lot of work in progress. The scorecard, like I said, is still in red. We have not seen example being shown by this administration or even some other previous administration, but especially I'm focusing on this administration that I voted into power, and it's just not doing the work. I am happy that I think we contracted by about -6. I can tell you for free. And this is where Mr. President needs to get back to the drawing board. The Economic Advisory Council, with some of the reforms that they have suggested,
right,
if we do them rigorously and we do not have stakeholders that will be saying certain things, will be telling lies just for political gains, if you go ahead and do the restructuring that we're talking about, 1, 2, we should go ahead and look at population growth. Some of the laws about child abuse, Child Rights Act, don't be mistaken by all. I will not be president, I will not be principal of a school, and a department is not doing certain things. Yes, I know my powers are limited, but I have what I call persuasive powers. Because together we win. And if one aspect is not going on fine, unemployment is 55%. Both unemployment and underemployment. Can anybody look at that and say we are progressing? I say no.
Okay, let's quickly have your final word before we take a break.
My final word is I want to enjoin Nigerians to have hope and to demonstrate more courage, because we need hope for life to go on. At times when I hear about this COVID, for instance, that could come from just anywhere, it could come through the window, it could come through the door, it could come anywhere.
It comes by air. You don't need windows, you don't need, it will just seep in.
If it just comes in, why are you struggling? If you know that all these are accumulating. So we need hope.
Right. So
that our country will continue to grow and we all see it. We also need courage, because it's not possible for any human being or any situation not to deserve courage to go on, continue to go on. I enjoyed this to Nigerians. That's just my final take.
All right, we have to leave the conversation here now, but we must thank you, lawyer and public affairs analyst Gani Fani, as well as public affairs analyst Akin Fatuke, for your time on the program this morning.
Thank you.
It's my pleasure being here.
Thank you.